Hey, this is Jeff Heller, and this is Queen City Geektv. Sit back and enjoy the show. We are here with Joy and Josh of Sisters of Salazar. And I first have to say, Josh does not look like much of a sister of Salazar. This is not normally your partner, correct?
No, my usual partner is Melissa Kobayashi, and she's just out of town this weekend, so she could not be a part of this, so I know that she really wanted to be, so normally it is.
10 questions about comics. Longtime fan and collector Tom Savini brings his direct approach to the always entertaining history of comics. During this segment, he'll discuss many topics related to America's best hobby.
Welcome to 10 Questions About Comics. I'm Tom Savini, your host, and here with me today is Dwayne Muth to talk about the Bronze Age of comics. Thanks for joining us, Dwayne.
Thank you.
Dwayne, when did the Bronze Age begin?
1971, 71, New Gods 1, Conan, around that era.
Okay. I would throw into the mix Batman 217, the issue where Robin goes off to college.
Yes, okay, sure.
Marked by a dramatic Neil Adams cover.
Yes.
Who were some of the popular creators of the Bronze Age?
Roy Thomas really came into his own. Steve Englehart, Len Wein, Marv Wolfman, Jerry Conway, Steve Gerber, Steve Englehart. How could I forget those guys?
Yeah.
Jeez. Frank Bruner, Jim Starlin, Chaykin did some stuff in there.
These were artists and writers who were taking the torch from the old prose of the Silver Age and carrying it into a new age of comics.
Second stage of the rocket.
Yep. Who were the main companies of the Bronze Age?
Marvel and DC, and I'm trying to remember, is it Skywald? They did there were companies that were around briefly, but then you still had like Dell and Gold Key were still, Charlton. Charlton they had at second stage also.
But as far as the news stories were going, I think the primary two that we were looking at was the rivalry between Marvel and DC.
Oh, definitely. DC was playing catch up with Marvel.
Yeah. What about comic book fandom? What was happening in the market of the people who were buying comics during the Bronze Age that really marked a distinction from older times?
There were college students now. You had Stan Lee traveling around. You had Legion fandom. You had like an open forum and letters pages of most comic books, and people were writing back and forth to each other. Comic book conventions.
Sure, comic book conventions building off the sci-fi conventions that had been around for decades, but focusing solely on comic books and bringing creators and collectors and fans and just getting them together in a room for a couple days.
Yes, it just constantly was building.
Started by Phil Seuling, based on the model of the science fiction conventions.
Yes, the San Diego Comic Con, like 1971, 72. I believe that was where it picked up. It started really to move forward.
Were there any new genres that were being used in the Bronze Age?
Horror comic books in particular, Tomb of Dracula, Swamp Thing, House of Mystery, House of Secrets, that kind of stuff. Horror comic books in particular. The war was starting to fade out, and that's that.
Do you think that the Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, and the broader popular culture fascination with horror played into the influence it had on the Bronze Age?
Yes. Marvel had like some black and white books out too, Tales of a Zombie,
Glad you
Vampire Tales.
brought up the black and white comics. Warren Publishing was not so much doing comic books at the time, but they were doing magazines. What influence did that have on the comic book world?
It had a lot, because people that wouldn't fit into Marvel or DC would go over to Warren and were allowed to do carte blanche what they wanted to do.
And when you say not fit into, you're talking, of course, about story content.
Yes, they could do like one-on, two-on stories, create whatever they want. It was more of creative freedom.
And that freedom to go into more adult themes, that freedom to maybe have some art that was a little bit more off-color was going to have a greater impact as the Bronze Age went on.
Yes, definitely.
What are fanzines and what are underground comics?
Fanzines are like fans come together through the letter writing stuff, and they would put out their own like comic books, and they do commentaries. Underground comics was more of the like the college age, a little more on the risque, kind of like what we're talking about with Warren.
If I mention the names Chris Claremont, Len Wein, Dave Cockrum, and John Byrne, what title are those for men?
It's a very big impact. It shaped a lot of things to come, like definitely New Teen Titans in 1980, and a lot of both companies. They did the New Warriors later on.
Sure. So from a story perspective and also from a marketing perspective, X-Men and those 4 creators' work on that title really blew open the whole industry.
Yes.
If people wanted to buy comic books in the Bronze Age, where were they starting to go?
Comic book stores were starting to open up. I mean, you had Queen City here was like one of the first 25 stores, and then other stores opened up, and you had the direct sales market. Marvel had Moon Knight and Kazar the Savage. That was like in
And Micronauts.
And Micronauts, yes.
So from people buying a comic book at the 7-Eleven or the corner supermarket, it transitioned to people who would go to stores specializing in comic books.
Yeah, you could find back issues. You know, people that knew stuff that was going on, they could tell you stuff. You could be more informed. Nobody at 7-Eleven's going to really know anything about it.
When did the Bronze Age end?
I'd have to say like the 1980, 81, when you started like the direct sales, and you had other companies like First Comics and Eclipse, Pacific Comics.
The dawn of the independent movement.
Heavy Metal was doing a lot of stuff, you know.
And I would put forth that the story end of the silver of the Bronze Age might come with the Crisis on Infinite Earths and the wrap up of the DC universe.
Yes, definitely. That's where things get really kind of, depending on how you look at it, very complex.
Okay. Dwayne, thanks for coming in today, and thank you all for joining us for 10 questions about comics. In future episodes, we're going to talk about the modern age and what drew out of the Bronze Age and where the comic book industry went from there.
Oh boy.
panning, just stay there for a while so that effect takes place in your lens.
Okay, we're here with Rashad Santiago. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Let me first ask, when you first got on Face Off, it was established. It had been out for a few years. Was there anything about the experience that surprised you at all?
No, I had been familiar with the show from the previous seasons, of watching the previous seasons, and I just knew what I wanted to do and what I had to do when I got there.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, having been able to see the show before, you knew, okay, well, I want to be able to impress them with this. I want to come in with this, my A game. Was there anything about that that prohibited you from doing that at all?
No, I don't think so. I think just realizing that this was a competition show, and even though everybody was nice and friendly, you know, I still had to make sure that I put my best foot forward and let my art show.
Right. Obviously, you don't film 24 hours a day. It's not like Big Brother or anything. So, what was the off time like for you guys?
It was nice. We got to hang out at the the cast house that they had for us. Just kind of basically talk about basically everything with Face Off. So they cut us off with cell phones, internet, all that stuff. Yeah. So everything you do is basically talking about your makeup for the next day, or a concept you want to do, or a paint job. So it's basically you're just surrounded with the show 20. Yeah.
It seems pretty supportive of everybody. I mean, a lot of times you see in the show where someone runs into a situation, they can get their mold out, Evan jumps in. Is it really that? I mean, are you guys really that helpful? I mean, it's a competition show, but do you guys find yourself really helping each other out? Yeah,
because again, even though it is a competition show, you build a relationship with some of these people, and you don't want to see them fail. You know, you want to see if everybody could win, it'd be great. Right. So depending on how much time you have, like even if I didn't have enough time to do something, I would still run over and help real quick and then get back to my thing. It just seemed like the right thing to do.
Your robot firefighter costume is probably one of my favorites of the entire series so far. Now, what happens to a costume like that when you're done with it, or any of them for that matter?
A lot of the stuff that they finish with on the show just kind of goes into the trash. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is in the business. Unless you, I mean, I think they saved that whole costume, and they have it up in like one of their sound rooms, cool. Which I thought was really cool. Yeah. But a lot of the stuff we made on the show just kind of gets trash. Yeah. It's super sad.
I want to ask you about you have a film coming out. Yes. Enuadi, is that correct?
Yes, it's called the Enuadi. It's based off of Native American folklore. When I designed the monster 10 years ago, it was just kind of like a concept. Well, what if there was a monster who could manifest himself in water? So I just kind of jotted that down. And then over the last 10 years, I've just been building and adding to the story. I had a lot of good people join the project and help out. Rick Prince from season 5, he was working on his film at the time that my Kickstarter failed. So he said, listen, buddy, if you want, you can wait, or you can try to do your movie, but I got a deal for you if you want to wait. So I told him yes, I'd wait. He helped me out. He introduced me to some executive producers who are funding the project now. So we filmed in September. We have most of the outdoor stuff filmed, and then I go back in April to finish it up.
Excellent. What can you say about the project besides, I mean, you gave a little bit, but anything else you tell us about it?
We are hopefully going to be getting the Guinness World Record for tallest man in a creature suit on film. Yeah, our suit actor is 7'7". Wow. Yes, 7'7" tall, and in the suit it puts him a lot over the 8-foot mark.
Is that a challenge physically to build?
It took a while. I think it took us, I'd say, a span of a month, maybe a month and a half, just going down to the shop in Pittsburgh over the course of I would say a month, different weekends to actually sculpt and build the creature suit. Yeah.
One more quick question about Face Off. Now, as a fan, the best part of any episode is when the judges get up close to the suits and get to get their first reaction for it. How nerve-wracking of an experience is that for you?
Well, if your makeup was good, not nerve-wracking at all. But if you didn't have enough time to glue something down, or perhaps there's something that's wonky on it. It's very nerve-wracking, because there are tricks that you learn as you're on the show, ways to hide certain seams or things like that, but they're poking and prodding around and pulling to see these things, and it's just, you've definitely, the sweat beads are going.
Now, where can we find out more information about you and your project and your film?
If you want to, you can check my Facebook at Rashad Santiago, or my Instagram, which is Rashad Santiago as well. Or if you want, you can go to facebook.com/the Enuati. We have a Facebook page for it. You can follow the updates and everything there.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're here with Ashley. Do you also know us Undead Do? How are you today?
I'm well, thank you for asking.
Excellent, excellent. Let me first start and ask you, how long have you been doing this for?
Okay, so I started cosplaying in around 2010. About 2 years ago, I started making my own costumes and as well working as a cosplayer.
Now you've developed quite a bit of following. Now, how has the fan interaction been for you?
At the convention or just in general?
In general.
Oh, okay. It's always great. I'm so thankful to be surrounded by such a positive and encouraging community. I've met amazing people that have shown me, so much about like creativity, and as well, I love the atmosphere at conventions. I find that there's so many great people to talk to. I always have a great time.
What motivates? What inspires your each costume? Do you find that you go in waves of particular genres you're interested in, and how do you just choose what you want to dress as?
Not necessarily. I mean, there's always a lot of costumes that I have on my to-do list. It could be really excited for a movie to come out, or a show, video game, something like that. But I like challenging myself, so I try to pick costumes based on what I want to learn. So if I want to work on my makeup skills and like techniques that way, I'll focus on maybe a body paint or a silicone build. If I want to work on my fabric or sewing techniques, I'll think of something that's more like a gown. So really just, what do I want to learn? What do I want to work on as an artist and as a craftsperson? And as well, like who looks really cool, or what character am I inspired by?
And I'd say, as far as learning, how any new techniques, how are you learning? What's the education process for you like?
Okay. So it's a lot of trial and error. I'm mostly self-taught. I was learning off of like YouTube videos, just trying my best to figure stuff out. I did 1 year as an intern with Special Effects Studio in Ottawa, Canada, and then after that, really just, like I said, YouTube, talking to people at conventions. It's a great place. Obviously I get really excited when I see cool builds. How did you make that? Like, what did you do? And I love sharing information. So yeah, online is great, and just chatting to other people about their craft.
We're here as Fox ProwlCon, and we're here with Will Rodriguez. First of all, Will, how are you?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
Great, thank you. First of all, what can you tell us about, was it a Supernal event?
Well, it's my comic book universe. It's basically telling a story of where supernatural people came about. It's my origin story of how that got started, and basically it's just introducing new heroes or new stories of how people react to being endowed with supernatural abilities. Some will be, will take the moral ground, some may not. And I think it's a lot of fun where I want to get into stories where it's a little bit more gray areas and not so, and then they're not all going to be superhero stories, but it gives me a lot of leverage and space to explore and do new kinds of stories the way I want, So,
have you found that the genre itself hasn't really lent itself to the kind of stories you want to hear or read?
Yeah, it's kind of like I didn't want to go the route of like there was a experimental accident or a mutant type gene type thing. My book has a little bit of more of a science fiction. Really, it's a science fiction kind of book mixed with some fantasy and but grounded. Some books they lose their ground and they're not as grounded as I would like them to be. I like them to be a little bit more realistic, but not where it's boring. I want it to be still adventurous at times, so it's sometimes a little bit more muted, a little bit more personal. Just more gives you a little bit more leverage. Right. The kind of stories I want to tell.
Now you've got issue number 1 is out. You got issue number 2 coming out soon, correct?
Yes. Right now I'm doing the finishing touches of it. it's funny because when you start doing your book and you start seeing, well, this can be improved, sometimes it slows down the process where you're like, oh, that's good, but I can do it better. And so like now I'm in the editing stage of what can I do to make it better, a better book. So I'm there, but it's all pretty much ready to go. It's colored. At this point, I'm at the stage of lettering it, and the next part is publishing, and then putting that out as soon as possible.
Now, how far ahead are you planning? How many, as far as story arcs concerned, issues?
I have a main story arc that I want to get off. It's basically I have to establish the universe and how it works, what are the rules, where does it. I have to ground it first, and then in the first issue I introduce a character, but he's not going to be shown again real soon because I have to do a lot of establishing in that universe, but he's going to be part of the of my regular universe. He's the Boricua patriot, and he's basically a Puerto Rican descent character, and he's a patriot. And since I'm Puerto Rican, I wanted to put out a character that would reflect where I'm from a little bit. So I wanted to put that out first. But it's really not just about him. It's going to be about a lot of different kinds of people and kinds of situations. It's going to start out basically with one character. The main character is John Spelda, and he's going to interact with other people, and that's going to set off a chain reaction of things to come. Yeah.
Very nice. Now, where can we get the book?
You can find it on creativezenith.com. I'm also on Facebook. If you want to get in touch with me there, I'm Will Rod's Creative Zenith. I don't have this memorized. And on Instagram, I'm creative_zenith. And on Instagram, I'm CZ Will Rod. I'm sorry, Will Rod CZ on Instagram. So you can find me anywhere on there, but the main place is creativezenith.com. You can order the book there.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
We are here with Bill Hume, Fox Prowl Con. How are you today, sir?
I am doing very good.
Excellent, excellent. Now, first of all, how many years has this been going on for?
This is our second annual one.
Oh, excellent. Not bad then. So what do you expect out of your con this year?
Well, I expect I'm kind of promoting awareness, new people to become aware of the convention, come and enjoy, have a good time, meet some new vendors, artists, meet some new friends, network.
Why? I mean, obviously, last year was your first year. Then why the con? Why this time?
Well, basically, I grew up in the 80s. I used to go to Doctor Who conventions in Buffalo and Rochester, the old Creation conventions. I love them. And I kind of wanted to pattern my event after that, like the smaller hotel atmosphere, kind of a lot of the side panel rooms, and just the feeling of camaraderie. And I opened up a store like 6-7 years ago, Fox Prowl Collectibles, and the convention's kind of a natural extension of the store. The Fox Prowl branding and everything, kind of promoting my brand, and always wanted to do a convention, and I can actually plan the convention at my day job and promote it at my day job. So I figured throw my hat in the ring, give it a try, and keep big things. I like to keep it in Batavia. That's, my store's in Batavia. I'm born and raised in Batavia, and Batavia's never had a Comic-Con. So that's kind of where that stems from.
Now, since the store opened up, the comic cinematic universe has opened up considerably. Has that benefited you?
For the most part, yes, because geek is chic, and everybody loves, Walking Dead is hot, and Doctor Who is as big as it ever has been. And we're actually more of a toy store. We have like 40,000 comics, but we're more of the toys and collectibles aspect of it. But the one thing that's kind of funny that did actually hurt my business is when The Force Awakens came out, because Star Wars stuff was so predominantly featured everywhere. You can go into a shoe store and get Star Wars stuff, and everyone carried Star Wars. And even like Barnes & Noble started carrying SH Monster Art Godzilla figures. Walgreens carries Walking Dead figures. People don't have to come to me to get that because it's so readily available everywhere. So my sales went down a little bit because everything is everywhere. I'm not as much of a specialty shop. But there's so many different product lines. Like I could carry X Plus instead of Monster Arts and the rare Star Wars stuff. But it's just kind of an interesting trend. People would think, this stuff is big, it's going to help business. Like, kind of, but...
Now, what is your biggest sellers, and what are people interested in right now?
Well, the back issues of comic books are always consistent. Those are steady sellers. Star Wars is always good. Everybody loves Star Wars. Doctor Who is hot and cold, when the show is currently on. People love it. Same with Walking Dead.
Well, it would take a year off. It makes the product selling a little difficult, I imagine.
Exactly, yeah.
Excellent. Now, this is your second annual. Planning a third, I assume?
Oh, I've already got a lot of ideas what I'm going to do and I'm not going to do. No, absolutely. There's a big learning curve. So.
Where can we go online to find information about this, about your shop, about the con?
Okay, the websites are foxprowl.com. It's our e-commerce site. We have all kinds of updates, what's going on. We have wrestlers at the store every couple months, local artists and stuff. And you can buy a lot of the merchandise directly on there. And foxprowl.com. And the convention website is foxprowlcon.com. And of course, Facebook, Fox Prowl Collectibles, Fox Prowl Con. Twitter is foxprowl1. And Instagram is Fox Prowl Collectibles. Yes, I just want to make sure I didn't have that backwards. So basically, just type in Fox Prowl and all roads lead to it. It's the whole branding thing. You can't miss us.
Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely, appreciate it.
This is Jeff Heller, over and out.